Good afternoon and welcome back to the strange world of Renaissance medicine, where I've been talking about corpse medicine and about the plague. What did the rich do in the time of plague in Shakespeare's day? They would try and get unicorn's horn. What would the poor do? A couple of possibilities. Shakespeare himself was born in a plague year, and by September, 1 in 15 people in his parish were infected. So we have to consider the interesting possibility that there's one very neglected animal in the history of literature. Do we in fact owe the greatest collection of plays in probably world literature to Shakespeare His Catte, Catte, as Shakespeare probably would have spelled it himself in later years. There's still a Cat Street thus in Oxford. If you do not have a vigorous cat snapping the necks of brown rats around you, and if in fact you thought you had caught plague, there was another interesting possibility recommended by rich and poor around this time, and that was chickens. How many chickens? Well, that was an open question, but the method was this. You sat down with your plague sore identified, you took your chicken live, and you plucked off or shaved off a patch, took the bare patch and held it to the plague sore. Presently your chicken died, so we're told, whether of shock, outrage, embarrassment, who knows, and you took another chicken, same method, bare patch, hold it to the plague sore, chicken dies. Keep going until chickens don't die. So your last chicken goes in the pot or who knows where, and you've convinced yourself that you've drawn the poison of the plague out of your body. This idea is interesting for a couple of reasons. One is because it was based on a very ancient, very widespread, and long-running idea of giving your disease to someone else or something else. This went back to the time of Christ and went ahead into many parts of 20th century Europe or America. You could pass on the disease and get rid of it in this way. The other reason that this is interesting is because it depends on essentially the soul, but also something which joined the soul to the body. Spirits of blood, very fine, hot, vaporous spirits, were absolutely essential to Renaissance medical theory. And it was these spirits that were being drawn out into the chicken, ideally, but it was also spirits that could give you the plague. We're very conscious now of plague in our own times, COVID-19, passing from the body, particularly passing from the mouth of one person to another. What we're not concerned about is giving the disease to somebody through the eyes. This was a major concern for people in the medieval and in Shakespeare's periods. Here's Shakespeare again in Twelfth Night. And this is Olivia, who's just been struck by the sight of Cesario, for whom she's having unexpectedly amorous feelings. She says this: "Even so quickly may one catch the plague. Methinks I feel this youth's perfections to creep in at mine eyes." This was a surprisingly literal claim on the basis that spirits of love, of witchcraft, of evil, of envy, the evil eye, or of disease entered from one person's eye into another. What has been called specular contagion. You could catch the plague and various other things through the eyes. And this features also in a fine novel by James Meeks, To Calais in Ordinary Time, medieval plague, in which a plague victim, when they die, is treated thus. Important thing you do to protect yourselves from the corpse is you bind up the eyes, not particularly the mouth, but the eyes. Okay, that's probably enough about Shakespeare and the plague. I'm going to be talking tomorrow, if I can find time, about an extraordinary character from American and British history on whom I stumbled a few months ago when researching the history of disgust. It's a character called Eliza Wright, and extraordinary series of letters from Victorian Britain, kind of Victorian Bill Bryson, whose letters I'll be reading out day by day, and bringing back to the light after they've lain undeservedly in dust for many decades now. Thanks.